This video is a follow-up to the video talking about mins and maxes on the item screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a do it best order using the reorder report based on mins and maxes. So we'll go to IC reports, reorders. Now we're going to leave the class blank for all, and we're going to leave the code blank and location blank. And what we're going to do is actually have two items queued up here, and we're going to use this to narrow it down to those two items. And so what we have here, the vendor, do it best, the units sold past. This is sort of a sales history field on the reorder report that you can see. This review only sales from, you would only use this field if you were going to do the reorder quantity based on sales. So because we're doing this based on mins and maxes, we're not going to do this. A note here about the vendor. Once you have your vendor selected, you can check this box to make sure that the items that pop up are only have this vendor as their primary vendor. So in this example, if we checked this, we wouldn't see any do it best items where do it best is the secondary vendor. Exclude discontinued, exclude missing any catalog. They are what they say. So if the reorder report, if we look into the e-catalog and that item from do it best in this example is discontinued, that would not pop up on this report. And if it wasn't in the e-catalog at all for that vendor, again, it would not pop up on this report. Here are various things that you can narrow down with the check boxes. Again, this base the reorder on sales is covered in another video. Here in this section of recommended order quantity, we can do several things. We can replenish to the min, replenish plus order quantity, replenish to the max, etc. But most stores will do the dynamic ordering. So in all practicality, what that gets you is if you have an item where there's no max set for your mins and maxes, the reorder report will recommend that you order enough to get above the min via your order quantity, and then it'll stop. If there is a max set for that particular item, then the report will recommend that you order enough to fill to the max. And if your order quantity doesn't match up with the multiplier so you land exactly, let's say if the order quantity for that particular item is 12 and you have 20 on hand and your max is 30, well, then you're going to get 32 because it's going to order enough to push you above that max. But just making sure that you do fill that to the max. Again, just as with reordering by sales, you can exclude or include seasonal items, and you can select the season. You can do it by date, so that you can filter down to between these two dates because you may have seasons that overlap, that sort of thing. So that you can include here. The purchase order request date, if you have an item that is on this order and maybe you have a PO sitting out there for 2 or 3 months from now that you're going to use that PO for the market, you're going to get a pallet of ice melt at the October market, but you'd like to order 1 or 2 packs now, well, you'll need to push this purchase order request date out past that purchase order so that the system knows, okay, we're not going to take into account the pallet that we know is coming in. So you would push that forward. And then here you can just reorder the report by these various selections. So once we have our parameters here, we're going to hit generate and then preview that report. Now let's take a look at this report and talk about some of the fields you'll see here. So first we have the recommended reorder quantity. For this first item, the 456456, we have 19, and the second we have 39. Now you may initially say, wait, the min for this item is 5 and the on hand is 1. So shouldn't the recommended reorder quantity be 4? Well, the recommended reorder report takes into account, again, like we said earlier, the sales order allocation and the POs and pre-POs that are out there. So if we take a look over here on this side, the SO allocation is 15. There aren't any orders for this item. So we need to order enough to cover the open sales orders that are out there and also get us back to our minimum. So the 15 plus the 4 that we need here makes 19. For the next item, the report recommends that we order 39. And the reason for that is the max is 40, the on hand is 1, so simple math says we need 39 to hit our max. You can also see reasons for this item. In other words, what is this set to? So this is has a minimum but no max, and the order quantity is 1. So that's what this indicates. For this item, we have a max and the order quantity is 1, so we can look at the max as 40, and again, that math means we need 39. Now what we want to do is start the process to export this order and create the purchase order. So we'll close this screen and simply hit export. Now you can do create PO or IOR export. We're going to do the IOR export. So now we want to edit this partial order. And for this example, we only have 2 things. That's not a big deal. So what we have here is this screen. It shows us all different types of things. We have our cursor by default is in the field where we select how many we want to order. So we can change that if we want to. Again, the recommended for this one is 19, but if we wanted to say 20, we could do 20 and hit enter. And this one is 39. And let's just say we just want to go ahead and we only need 30 actually. The nice thing about this screen is you can actually change values here. So we have this first item selected, and if I decided that I didn't like the min or the max for this particular item, I can change those things here, and those changes are saved on the item screen for this particular item. Another thing is that when you highlight an item, if there are things on order or allocated, this can sit in this consider section. This turns red as an indicator to say, hey, you might want to think about this. One other feature is we can actually turn on colors. So if you wanted to change, select background colors for these lines, so that if you change the quantity as you go down through here, we could say, well, if I change the quantity, I want it to be this pink color. If I've reviewed it, we'll just make it a green. And if there was no change at all, we'll make it a blue. So that way, if you have an order that has, 100 items on it, you can quickly take a glance and say, oh, well, I changed these 20 particular items. Let me just double check to make sure that I put the right values in. Another thing you can do here is simply hit close, and we can save this. So close the order form, yes. Save to the complete order, yes. So we have saved this, and what we can do is, let's say we started it. I did complete that, so it's not in the partial field, but if it wasn't finished, it would be in the partial. But we can close this. Let's say we need to go to lunch, go do something else, and we need to come back and we need to finish that screen out so we can go ahead and export that recommended reorder to a purchase order. Then we can go to Options, IOR menu, in this case, Do It Best, Screens, Export Screen, and then here is our complete order because, again, I completed the file earlier. So we can go back and edit that if we wanted to, but I don't want to this time because that was done. We'll save it, and now we can simply generate new PO. So it just created the purchase order, and it's asking, do we want to go ahead and delete that complete order file because we just created a purchase order with it? And I'm just going to say yes. So we will close this, and let's go make sure and check that PO was created. So we'll go to Modify PO, 329, and here it is. We've got our 2 items. And if you wanted to continue to tinker with the order, you can do that here by simply hitting Edit and adding items if you so chose. There's another video about sending a purchase order if you want to check that out, about what to do next. And otherwise, thank you.